the prize, I follow through. I'm unstoppable.
Welcome to Charmingly Toxic, where Prosecco meets psychology. And we're not diagnosing, but we are side-eyeing the charm, control, and emotional chaos. Hey, Rachel, welcome back to
Hey.
Charmingly Toxic. So today we're going to dive back into discussing the Murdaugh Hulu series, and we're going to recap episodes 5 through 8. Hopefully we can do it all in one shot, but if not, we might have to break it up. So we'll see if this is a part 1 and part 2 type of thing. I want to give a cheers first, and I also want to cheers to our producer, Leslie, who I met last night for margaritas. You should have come. We missed you.
Leslie's awesome.
Next time you'll meet up with us. Okay, so here we go. Episode 5 is called The Prince. And in this episode, they open back up this Stephen Smith story, and now it's back in the press, and the Murdaughs are freaking out. Like, okay, we don't need another bad story creeping up from our past. So much is happening. And so we get a little bit of the backstory on Stephen Smith and him having this boyfriend that he labels the prince. And there is some digging around, like, could Buster possibly be the prince? But they figured out that he's not. You know, it was somebody else. They don't really dive too deep into it. Even at the end of the series, it's kind of like not brought up again, really. So I don't want to spend too much time on it unless you know more detail.
I mean, it seemed, even a little bit I do know about it, seems kind of a stretch. And I felt bad for Buster in that, kind of being pulled into that to some degree. Even though his family's horrible, just, I don't know.
Yeah, we see in these last 4 episodes, they're really trying to build audience empathy for Buster, even though he's come out in the press and said, this whole thing is not true and you disparaged me or put me in a bad light. But I think at the end of the day, like this miniseries is trying to be like, let's feel bad for this guy. He got caught up.
I think he's in a tough spot because it's like he could lose his whole family. I think he feels obligated. He has loyalty to his crappy dad because he doesn't want to lose everybody. I don't know. But yeah, he came off, I thought, looking great in this series for sure compared to everybody else.
Yeah, like if there was more stuff there, I think that they would have added it in. Or maybe they're saving that for another miniseries. Who knows? So we go to the Watermelon Festival and we see Randolph is the Grand Marshal or something. And he's got this big float and he wants all the grandkids on it. And he wants to create this image of this dynasty.
I can't believe that they would go through with that. I mean, it's a tiny area and they already have this scandal with their family. Like, maybe now's not the time to be the parade marshal. Like, why? It's wild. I don't know.
I think Randolph thinks that every story can be muted way down, or I have pull over every story. So he doesn't really see it. I think he just minimizes everything, honestly. And so he's wanting Paul on the float. Paul is like off, wasted, doing God knows what. We see Alec later completely wasted at this thing. Buster's like, okay, I'll be the good grandson. I'll show up. And then he's getting bullied and ostracized about the Stephen Smith thing. And he just kind of takes off.
And then all the sister-in-laws are talking shit. Maggie overhears them, which, of course, don't be on a float right now. Everybody's going to be talking shit.
Yeah. And I think everybody in the family realizes at that festival that they are no longer held in this high regard, except for Randolph. We see Alec kind of freaking out because he kind of has this side meeting and they say, hey, we're definitely going to compel your finances. This is kind of like another check for him to start really self-destructing and imploding. And we see that. I thought this was a great scene. When we see him, I think it's that evening or later that day, or maybe the next day on the couch at home, like food coming out of his mouth, like so drunk, he can't talk, just disgusting. I mean, he just looked like a loser, slob, alcoholic, grimy person. And Maggie was thoroughly disgusted by him. And then in that same episode, Randolph makes Randy the managing partner and shames Alec. And we also see Alec emotionally abuse Maggie in this episode too. And she stands her ground. So he's kind of screaming at her. I think it's in the kitchen. And I don't know if I brought this up the last time we met, but do you think it's purposeful that every time they are shooting in the family home, it's so dark in there?
Yeah, it's kind of like a hunting lodge place. So maybe it actually was dark, but yeah.
Like their actual home, like when they're in scenes in their home, in the kitchen, it's really dark. It never is bright.
The real house is like a lodge looking place. So It looks really like a manly. It's kind of surprising that they would have lived there and have that as much wealth as they presented to have.
I just wonder if it was intentional, like there's a darkness that lives here.
Not a lot of light in that household at all.
So then we see Maggie doing some detective work on the phone and trying to figure out where Alec's phone is. 'Cause I think he said he lost his phone. He can't find it. He's kind of, upset. And she kind of tracks him down. And this is the scene where she sees this abuse of a prostitute.
That whole scene was just. And then I wonder. I mean, she just go home after that. That whole thing was just troubling. I felt like did she not? She didn't help the girl. I mean, I know she'd be horrified herself, but then just awful, awful.
I think the scene was terrifying for her to see that woman so afraid and two men having so much power that I think she was just frozen. But also, I think that marked for her, I can't ever unsee this. I can't ever go back to pretending. Like this was the line.
A turning point. I mean, she knows he's a monster after that. I think there's just no question.
Exactly. Like it's so dark and you're in I think that's a good word is she's like this person is an evil monster.
Yeah, and I can never trust.
Is that when she says, "Okay, I'm going to the beach"?
Yes. And then she tries to get Paul to go with her, but
Okay.
she just leaves. That scene where she's just driving with the dog to the beach, she seems so relieved. I mean, it's so sad, but also just get out of there. I thought that was pretty just powerful.
Yeah. We also see this scene where Randolph confronts Buster about leaving the
Mhm.
parade, leaving the festival. This was
Yeah, he's bad. I mean, that's I guess he's Alec Murdaugh's dad. I don't know. I don't even care if he did kill him.
I mean, he
Yeah.
says, like, he goes, frankly, son, I don't care if you killed him or not. You come from a long line of men that have been indicted for a lot of things. You never walk away. We never walk away. It doesn't matter. The truth is irrelevant.
Yeah.
You're a Murdaugh.
I think that's a theme throughout this whole I mean, why they're all such a mess because that's just kinda their it's where they're coming from. But it doesn't matter. We're special Murdaughs or whatever.
And you're going to do whatever I say. So get your ass
Mhm.
back into law school. This is definitely coercion. Like Buster has no options. I mean, there's so much power that he holds. And, even you kind of see as the episodes go on that Buster is like, I have no control over my own future. I don't have any control over my destiny. Like this was set in stone for me. It's unchanging. Even times where he thinks maybe he can pivot, he can't. And that's, where they're really building empathy for him. We move on to episode 6. And in the beginning of this episode, they flash back to the kennels after the shooting, and Alec is acting like he found them shot and he's crying. And do you think, I mean, I know this is a movie, but do you think he's crying is all performative, or do you think the brutality of seeing them like actually dead in such a massacre kind of hit him in a different way?
It had to be an overwhelming situation even if you were I mean, he caused it, but just seeing that, I think in his own terrible way, he did love them. I think it was both.
Yeah. And I think sometimes with narcissists, they can convince themselves of the lie that they're creating. And so if he did and thought, okay, someone else shot them and I'm now seeing them shot and I didn't do it,
Then of course you would cry. Yeah, if you convince yourself that someone else had done it.
that would maybe seem why the sobbing felt so
I think
real.
he's an amazing I mean, he's just a really good actor and a good liar.
But I mean, he was imitating like the exact phone
No,
call.
he's that phone call sounds exactly like the real one. I mean, crazy.
Could someone create that much performance around sadness and despair? I don't know. I mean, I think there was part of it that that he was believing someone killed my family and I'm now destroyed.
He probably had to convince himself that was reality that he couldn't live with.
I wonder if it was like an out of body experience for him, the killings.
I kind of thought like maybe it's just impulsive, but definitely not if he had 2 guns and,
No, it wasn't impulsive. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So we see Maggie go to the beach and she's trying to distract herself to decorating, and then she's having all these memories come back. At the same time, we're seeing Alec and his brothers watching the baseball game with Randolph, and he's clearly not doing well, which is causing distress for these sons who don't cope with anything well. Alec is constantly maneuvering. From this moment till that last episode, it's constant manipulating, massaging situations, He's trying to manipulate Maggie. You got to come back. You got to talk to me. I can't do this by myself. I'm a victim here. I'm not strong enough. I'm weak. And then with his brother, too, he's like, you have to have my back no matter what. Please don't ever turn your back on me.
Buster constantly trying to get people to be loyal to him and be on his side, it's I need you and all. He just plays the victim very well.
Then there's something about the grand jury investigating a possible cover up of the boat accident. Oh, that's what the brother brings
The
up.
brother's kind of hilarious. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, we're in it together." I'd be curious to read a book that they write or something, because what it'd be like to be in his immediate family or grow up with him.
I can't get a good read on Randy, but he seems very by the book. Where the younger brother, I think it's the younger brother that Paul moves in with. So Paul goes to Charleston and moves in with this other brother who seems really kind.
He's the baby, and I think, yeah, he has the outdoor store and is totally different from everybody else.
Yeah, he's not a lawyer, but it seems we see there that Paul is like making friends and like socializing. It looks like he's not drinking as much. And so we kind of see him rebuild his life under this maybe
Mhm.
nurturing brother, which is complete opposite of his father.
The uncle saying, "I'm really proud of you. I'm glad you're here," or whatever. I mean, it was pretty, wasn't over the top, but just a kind conversation, and you could tell, like, it was a huge deal. Maybe you never heard of it before.
Yeah, no. Okay, so then I love this character of Maggie's sister. So we see her go to the beach house and she has this discussion with Maggie, and Maggie can't even bring herself to say what it is that her husband did that really crossed the line for her. Like she can't, it's so filthy, she can't put the words in her mouth. We see the sister encouraging her to consider divorce. Maybe you should call a lawyer. And we see Maggie distracting, like, I can't. This is too much. Come look at this paint. Come look at this. I can't handle this.
You could tell she's getting frustrated, but she's still very kind about it, but, like, who cares about paint right now? Call the lawyer. She might, do you think she told her to some degree what happened? Because it seemed like she knew it was, like, serious. She didn't have an inkling of, "Okay, this is bad," but
And I think the sister does kind of penetrate after a while. And, what Maggie says is real. Like, if I walk away, I'm going to walk away with nothing. I can't divorce basically a dynasty of lawyers. They're not going to give me anything. And almost sees it like, I'm stuck in this corner. I'm stuck in this situation. I'm just going to continue to hide here because that's all I can do.
maybe that is how she's thinking.
You can see too, like this cognitive dissonance that's happening in that moment where she's reflecting back on these old memories with Alec and with the family and with the boys. And now she's got this new realization and she kind of even says like, which is true? What are the true parts of my life? What is even real? If I went to hang up these pictures back on the wall, what would they mean? I thought that was a really good moment. I see that in my clients all the time. It's like, what do I take away from this at
Yeah,
the
has it
end of
all
the
just been
day?
fake? Yeah, your half your life has just been a huge lie. Yeah, because 'cause I'm thinking you just saw him, whatever he's doing with the prostitute, he's awful. Now you're looking at your wedding dress. That's just night and day kind of feeling for somebody that I'm sure would be really hard to reconcile and figure out where that person stands. I mean,
Yeah, the brain has a really hard time separating all that out. She's realizing while she's there alone, okay, I'm married to a controlling person that is an addict, a narcissist at the very least, and someone who abuses women.
he's obviously dangerous. He's powerful, and then she's seen that he can be very, very violent with, I don't know if she'd seen that before. Maybe not.
Right. That's what we talked about last time. Like, has he shown this uncontrollable rage in the house? And maybe if he didn't exactly hit her, he was throwing things or maybe punching the wall or whatever. Like, she's seen it in the house and now she's seeing it displayed with another person. And so that is terrifying.
Yeah, that makes it possible that, yeah, you're in danger. She had to feel that way, I would think.
This is the other heartbreaking part of this episode when we see
Mm,
Paul hit that dog on the road and just has a total breakdown. I mean, oh my gosh, this poor child. And, seeing this dog suffer and wanting to make sure it's okay. And then, just all this PTSD is flooding, his memory and
mhm.
just, I'm sorry. Oh, that was so hard to watch. Whether it was true or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I thought so too. I think it made it really humanized him more than anything else. I'm sure, I mean, he was super young and people do stupid, bad things just when they're young like that. Maybe he would have tried to fix or do what he could to make amends if he'd had that opportunity. But I don't even know. His family just wouldn't give him, they're not going to allow you to even ever admit that you're wrong, it seems like in this family.
Yeah, so having that moment where he could admit it to himself, that was huge. So now it cuts to the day of the murders. Alec is getting pressed to hand over his financials. We see him trying desperately to get Maggie and Paul home. And I'm thinking, and it kind of plays out in the later episodes, but is this the moment when he starts strategizing about killing them? Because this is the same day the CFO confronts him about the missing money. She's, I mean, pretty upfront and straight with him. I mean, she must have had the confidence that he did it for the way that she approached it. And then, coincidentally, I mean, I know the timeline is a little weird, but his dad takes a turn for the worse and everyone gives him
Yeah.
sympathy. Like, okay, we'll back off this for a while. Your dad's dying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly the real timeline. I know it was all pretty close. So, I mean, for sure there was a hearing about the finances for the lawsuit. Pretty, it was coming up within a week for sure when they got shot and killed. Which that's a pretty crazy coincidence, obviously. And the place, I think that was what makes it so. Just they live out in the middle of nowhere. Nobody would know where it was unless they knew them. Under 40,000 people live in the whole county. So that's a really small town,
Like, how many people live in
almost
McKinney?
300,000. So it's like the whole county, which is there's multiple towns in the county so I don't know how many people live in that town. Very few.
Right.
Just a tiny small town. How many crazy violent tragedies are there? I can't imagine very many. And then this guy, he's got like the worst luck in the world. All this is happening to him. No. I mean, I think some of it is just he's just like a ridiculous person. Just makes no sense what he's trying to do.
I mean, think about it. Paul goes and it's like, I can't live here anymore. Right? Like, get me out of here. And then Maggie is pretty much like, I can't stand you. I'm going to live somewhere else. You're disgusting. So I think he feels alone. He can't keep up this facade of this family. Like, people in the town know your wife's not living with you. She's somewhere else. And then, he's about to get busted financially. So his picture perfect image is crumbling faster than he can manipulate.
He also just seems like a person that needs constant attention, so they leave him and he can't handle it. Yeah, even like the guy who comes to check on the dogs, Paul's friend, and he's trying to get him to have a beer and go and so he's like, "Hey, yo," but
Hang out.
it seems he's, like, desperate to have some sort of audience all the time.
And most like typical overt narcissists are like that. They cannot stand being alone. So we move to episode 7. This is a big episode. Oh gosh. Okay. So it opens with Buster and his girlfriend getting a call from Alec about the murders. Again, his crying, like, it sounds legit and it makes it seem like he is calling from the scene of the crime. The police and detectives are at the scene. They're questioning Alec in the police car. And he describes the timeline in a very calm way. Scenes like this, like, they had the dash cam on, like they're doing it word for word. He's reenacting Alec's tone of voice and exactly what he says. I thought this seems a little bit too perfect.
Like, memorize what I was gonna say.
Like, if you walked up on a scene and you saw two family members shot and killed, you would be in a state of shock. I don't even know that you'd be able to talk.
Well, I don't know if it'd be coherent, and then wouldn't he be afraid that, like, why would there's a million things that I feel like he would have been his reaction should have been different. It makes no sense that you would be like, "Oh, let me tell you some timeline," or
It seemed like more hysterical or like, "You go out there and find this, like, what are you doing?" Like,
somebody did this, find them. And he doesn't ever seem there's no sense of urgency of finding this person
I
who
mean
did this. There's doesn't seem like he cares about that at all, really.
I would need a sedative. I think I would be vomiting, I would be hyperventilating. Then we see them kind of gather together as a family, and Buster asks Blanca to take care of Bubba. Now, she's come out with a book right now, and everyone's kind of chiming in a negative way about her writing this book. Any thoughts on that?
I thought it was interesting and not that surprising that Alec from prison released a statement saying he's disappointed in the book. He just has no shame. I mean, it's just crazy that he would release a public statement through lawyers. You're in prison for the rest of your life. Like, shut up. Nobody, I don't know. I can see from her perspective, you work for a family and this all happens and she felt she was friends with the wife. You would want to get that story out, what you felt happened. And
She has a story to tell. She should be able to tell it. And taking care of that dog who had so much trauma. Oh my gosh.
she got the dog. She can write a book. That's what I think. for sure.
So, okay, do you think this part was real when Alec and Buster go and tell Randolph about the murders? Like, why would they do that? The guy is like half dead.
Alec is just such a baby. He doesn't even tell he doesn't tell his dad. Buster has to tell him because he's just like, just
That's true.
such a baby. I think he just seems like not capable of handling anything correctly or just, I don't know. I thought,
But also, like, willing to cause harm. I mean, who is going to tell a dying grandparent that their grandson was just murdered?
yeah,
I mean,
why?
that's
I don't
terrible.
know. And, or if you were, wouldn't you do it yourself, not have your traumatized son break the news?
I don't know. I'm going to say, under no circumstances does he need to know
He's
this.
already on his way out. Yeah. He dies like 3 days later or something.
Yeah. And then he can meet up with them in heaven and hear the whole story. I mean, I don't know.
Then also, if your family just got shot, you don't exactly know why, would you feel comfortable like, "Hey, Buster, let's drive you and me alone, go somewhere, tell him this." Like, none of it makes any sense. Like, you would be just emotionally, I don't know if you could drive, but also, wouldn't you be afraid just physically, like somebody's coming for y'all?
That's what their narrative is like. We're being hunted down.
And tell your dad by yourself, like, that doesn't make any sense.
No. Okay. So what was this whole part? Okay. I don't even get this. So the detectives are discussing the case and Blanca says that she saw Maggie's pajamas laid out on the floor of the laundry room. Why would he do that?
I don't know, that seems really weird, and why would you put it on the floor? And yeah, I don't, it's really weird.
Maybe he was just like in a panic and not thinking clearly, but still. Okay, so the detectives are like, hey, we're going to try to download Paul and Maggie's phone. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem.
Oh,
Meanwhile, I'm like, is this guy forgetting that this is going to implicate him? So Alec then gets a call from the Beaches attorney saying they're dropping the civil suit, and he is definitely rejoicing on the inside, like, yes, my plan is working. This is great.
seemed like that on the phone, I felt like, would you even express any kind of relief? Or would you really care anything about really anything? And he's like, "Great news!" Like, there's no great news right now. Like, I don't know. I felt
That-
like, I mean, he did definitely try to tone it down, but it was obvious that he was inappropriately excited and glad that that was over.
Yeah, I know he just was rejoicing in his head, like, my plan is
All coming
working
together.
perfectly. This is great. And when Randolph dies, they go and tell Randolph's wife. I'm like, again, why are you people doing this? This woman has Alzheimer's. Why are you torturing people around you for no reason?
Mess. I think they're just so much they're just delusional. He just tells himself whatever he tells himself in his head and just goes with that, even though it makes no sense.
So then we see Alec trying to manipulate his mom's caregiver about the timeline and indicating that he will contribute and pay
Mhm.
for this beautiful wedding. And thank God, I was like,
Yeah.
this woman's going to fall for this. But she did not. So that was wonderful. I mean, she made him think that she was, but then later reported to the
Mhm.
police the accurate time that he was there. And that part is gross too. We see it twice where he goes and kills them and then he comes back and sits with his mom and eats ice cream and watches TV.
I mean, how could he even drive there? And then he's there. Yeah, he's bad. Really, really evil.
So he can kill them, take a shower, drive to his mom's, eat ice cream and be perfectly fine, and then go back to the scene and be a hysterical mess.
He just compartmentalized.
That's a good word. So then we go to after the funeral and Alec making this speech at the funeral reception with Buster, quoting the Bible, maintaining the narrative that some awful people killed Paul and Maggie. It was an act of revenge. And now that, they could be the next to go.
But that Bible quote was from clients that he was stealing from. I mean, that was all. He just does not care, obviously.
One thing I was hoping for, and I don't know what the truth of this or not, but if like Maggie's sister, I mean, obviously she's raised in the South in this small town, but I kind of wanted her to be a little bit more assertive about what she thought happened because she knows that her sister was going to leave or contemplating leaving. She knows there was a lot happening in that marriage. You could tell purpose, in the making of the miniseries, that she had these questioning looks on her face where you could tell her brain was working, but she never said anything.
I think, yeah, she definitely seems like she sees through him for sure and realizes, but maybe she feels torn because she wants to maintain a relationship with Buster and he still wants to believe in his father. It just seems pretty complicated, but yeah, I definitely seems like her sister knows what the deal is.
But maybe even in that dynamic or in that where they lived or just being a Southern woman of that age, it's like, even if I know it, I can't say it.
I think there is a lot to not putting not airing your dirty laundry and all that.
Yeah. So then we see the detective interviewing Rogan. We find out, that Alec was at the kennels. The detective noted that Alec's clothes were clean the night of the murder. Shelley confirming he was only at the mom's house for 15 minutes. And then we see Alec getting interrogated. And again, we know this is word for word, right? Because obviously they have all the tapes of this, but the detective confronts him about being at the kennel and he denies it and he says, "Did you kill Maggie?" And what does he say? "Did I kill my wife?" So we know anytime anyone answers a question with a question, it's a stall tactic. So I was like, "You're not smart enough not to do that."
I mean, I think he's just so arrogant that it just overrides because he would know not to talk to the police, don't testify. He did all the things that I think most attorneys would advise you, whether you're guilty or innocent. Either way, they would advise you not to do all the things that he did. I think.
So are you thinking as time went on, as the investigation went on, he was becoming more grandiose or he was becoming
Yeah,
more
I think he was getting more
reckless?
reckless and desperate, and then but maybe the core of his personality was, "It doesn't matter, I'm a Murdaugh, like, no one can tell me anything, I'm just gonna do rules don't apply to me." So, yeah, I would advise a client this or that, but that doesn't apply to me, I'm gonna go ahead and testify, and they're gonna believe me because I'm me, and he just delusional and thought he could lie and get away with it like he always had, I guess.
So then, this is great. Randy calls Alec into the office at the law firm and he confronts him about the checks and this fake LLC he set up for
Yeah,
money
I mean,
laundering
like,
called Forge.
it is.
And then he's like, "My jackass little brother, for a better part of a decade, has stolen from the
Mhm.
firm and our clients." You can see the rage in him, like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
I'm sure
Again, though, well, how did it take them a decade to figure this
I
out?
think they probably just weren't looking at things closely because it's your family. You're not gonna. I think that you let a lot of stuff, or even if you suspect, you'd probably let it go. Like maybe it's not a big deal because it's going to cause this whole big issue. It's a tiny town. It's your family's firm. You're not going to really ask a ton of questions. Just keep going as long as things are. It's going to keep trucking along. I think,
You
and they
just
were
keep it
making. I mean,
moving?
they were doing well, but I think as people started asking questions and obviously clients started realizing that probably pushed it.
Then Randy fires him, and Alec tries to play the victim and use the addict card, right? And Randy does not give a shit.
No, everybody here hates you. You cannot have a leave of absence. What are you thinking?
Yeah, Randy's like, "Dude, you're fucking done, and I don't really have a lot of empathy for your drug habit."
Seems like he's trying to be a decent brother, but I can see as a law firm or as a business, all those people have got to be like, you have got to be kidding me. Get out and never want to see you again.
Yeah, "You're not coming back from this." And we see at the end of the, last episode that he stole, like, $12,000,000.
Which is
Like, "You're not coming back from stealing $12,000,000."
for sure.
So then Alec goes home and has a huge bender, right? Trashes the house, doing every drug, drinking, just disgusting. And then we see Buster kind of coming home and seeing that, at the end of the episode. He must have been, what do you think he must have thought? Like, my dad, one, like, maybe I've never seen him this
Mm.
bad, and that's scary.
Or even if he did tell himself, like, well, he's so wrecked because he's grieving either way, I'm sure he felt it's just so much responsibility. Like, okay, my mom used to take care of him and I can't, how could you deal with something like that? You deal with this guy, like, you're seeing it full on.
I mean, this young adult, his brother's dead, his mother's dead, his grandfather's dead, his dad is losing his shit. He is probably so terrified. Like, who do I turn to? I have nobody. Luckily, he has his mom's sister.
I don't think they weren't really in the show very much, but it seems like she has a good family, hopefully.
So, also in this episode, we see the whole Alec trying to get someone to kill him so that he can leave Buster
And
money.
even that, he goes back to, like, he talks to that Cousin Eddie guy, and he's like, "You're my best friend. It's just me and you. I've lost everyone. All I have is you." So he's, like, really trying to, like, glom on to Eddie so he'll do what he wants. I think that's his kind of that's his go-to is to act like, "You're my best friend. You're all I have. Do what I'm saying. Do what I want."
So, you don't think that there was any part of him that wanted to die? It was just, please just injure me slightly so. Or I don't know. What do you think?
He did. I bet he did just to get out of it.
I mean, that makes sense because it's such a selfish act, right? I'm gonna leave my only son high and dry because I can't deal with this.
I can't deal with it. I think he legitimately wanted to check out, but then he's putting it, he won't do it himself. He's trying to make this Cousin Eddie guy do it.
And then his cousin ratted him out.
He seemed like that was like he flipped the switch in front of Buster when he gets called. The cops come and they say like, "Well, we've talked to Eddie," and like he's all just his usual friendly, loud, jovial self, and then it's like his face. He looked completely different. I mean, once he realized, okay, I'm caught. They know, and I'm gonna have to face it. It was like dark quickly.
And you could see his wheels turning of what is the narrative that I'm gonna say
Yeah,
in this moment to my
but there was nothing to
son.
say, and then he was just I don't know. It seemed like you hear about like a mask flipping or whatever. Seemed like his mask was off at the point. He looked really angry and mean. Not yeah.
Terrible. So then we see him go to rehab.
I wonder. I
Yay.
mean, wonder what people in rehab with him would say.
My whole thought is, I don't really think, I mean, having the connections he had, you think he was doing drugs in the rehab? I mean, that's what I'm thinking
Probably
for sure.
he's manipulator. I'm sure if he could, he would have.
There's no way. I don't think there is any way he could have been sober, but they don't say how long he was there for. So, but still, he's not strong enough to go through that detox.
Like his brother testified about him like crapping his pants and all that. That whole thing, kind of embarrassing. I mean, definitely embarrassing, but that wasn't in the show. That was part of the trial, and I think that was part of the detox. I guess apparently.
I mean, you can still detox if you're taking like half the amount. I just don't think he stopped. I don't think so. So then we move on to episode 8. This episode was so hard to watch. I texted you this morning like, oh my God, my stomach. So we open up with Buster and Randolph golfing, and he's talking about, this was a flashback to September 2019. And Buster's telling him about his first law paper that he has to write about ethics. And Alex says to him, what's true and what's not. And there's a whole lot of in between. But the only real truth in this world is what you get others to believe.
I think that's what he lives by. Yeah.
But how ballsy, he and Randolph are like, we are basically saying, as role models, we are teaching you how to be con men. This is what we're really teaching you, how to manipulate the truth.
For sure. I mean,
And they feel really good about it.
they think we're smarter and that's what counts. Yeah, he's like he said that and then he's like, and it's really served me well or whatever. I don't think there's any guilt there. I mean, there definitely isn't any guilt there. It's just
So the narrative that he's talking to his attorney about, or is that they're going with, is that all the $12 million that he stole was spent on opioid addiction. What? I mean, I don't
they
know.
said something, but he had a $50,000 a week habit or something. I don't know how much that would. I have no concept.
Yeah, I can't do math, so that's too hard for
Not
me.
12 million.
It's a
Well,
lot.
yeah. But then I was reading. He didn't do it to. I mean, he had clients that he did, did a good job for, but he chose the people that he screwed up. I mean, he screwed over the most vulnerable, which is just awful. He picked his victims wisely. The people that couldn't and wouldn't do anything, they didn't have any resources to do anything.
Didn't have a support system, didn't have resources. Absolutely. We see him get out of rehab and he's arrested immediately for obtaining property under false pretenses. And then we go to the sled investigation. And this is in July, where they unlock Paul's phone and they show the video to Buster and Randy and Alex's voice at the kennels. The look on their faces, Randy's face in particular. I mean, Buster's too. This whole time, they're always panning this episode to Buster's face constantly. You see him really struggling with, what do I believe and what do I
Yeah.
not believe? His heart and his head going back and forth.
You just wouldn't want to believe that your parent was like an awful person that did all this.
So it's easier for Randy as his brother to see.
I think siblings, like he has to already know that, okay, my brother is a jackass. Like this isn't coming out of total left field for him. He grew up with him. I think that he had to have had some inkling, like he's not right. Like he had to pull some stuff. He had been doing stuff like this probably his whole life. So
For a long time. But even in this episode, I think we'll get to it. He's having a discussion. Randy's having a discussion with Buster, and he doesn't even, he gives a lot of grace to Buster. He doesn't come out and say, your fucking dad shot your
yeah.
mom and your brother. Like, even though, Randy believes it to be true.
I think they're all like really protective, or they don't want him to be isolated. It's like if they tell him, then he'll be totally alone. I feel like at least Marion and Randy probably both like you don't want your nephew to be just alone in this, so you have to kind of tread lightly. But I don't know.
Right, because he could just run away from
Yeah, or I'm
everything.
just gonna be on my dad's side, and your dad is worthless and not gonna help. You have nothing if you choose him. full on.
So then we have to believe Randy has some decency. So then Buster visits dad in jail. I thought this was a good scene too. He said, "Why did you lie about being at the kennels?" And the way he manipulates Buster in that moment, he's so good. Like he is so good at coming up with lies on the spot and really having this fake pseudo intimate connection where people just believe what he says.
Just to really make people feel connected to him and at ease, and or they feel sorry for him, or they feel like they're best friend, they're friends, and they want to be loyal to him. And he just plays on people's decency, even though he has no sense of loyalty or anything. He just uses people.
Okay, so we go to trial day one, and prosecution is building the story of Alice's life closing in on him financially with drug abuse, boat accident, etc. Um, the defense saying there's no evidence, there's no DNA, there's no witness. And they keep panning to Buster, showing his face of him not, he's got back and forth. What do I believe? What don't I believe? And then we see him defending it to Randy. And he said, just because my dad's a liar doesn't mean he's a murderer. And that in that moment, I thought, Randy gave him a lot of grace. He could have been like, he's both, but he didn't. And then Maggie's sister gently tells him, I'm going to testify.
I thought that conversation was really kind, but also direct.
I was really proud of that, where she felt like I have to be a voice for my sister. But even in the testimony that we saw, and I'm sure there was way more that wasn't depicted, she really didn't go after Alec.
Yeah, she didn't go after him or say anything negative about him. She just was saying it was odd. I had questions, but there's nothing directly said. I mean, I think maybe that's better. It seems like she just was there trying to do the right thing. She's not like there having some vendetta or trying to get him, even though I'm sure, surely she felt angry and wanted to, but she just was trying to testify to the facts of what she knew. Didn't want to, seems like she didn't want to make assumptions.
Well, she's a better person than
Yeah,
me
yeah.
because I would have been the
Yeah.
opposite of
I
her.
can't imagine being in that position.
And then she said that the one comment Alec made to her was, whoever had done this thought about it for a very long time. And I was like, here he is telling on himself that this was
And
premeditated.
then the video of him saying, like, whatever about is on tape that everybody can hear him say it.
I know. So trial day 17, this was amazing when they did the GPS and cell phone data and they showed the map of like
Mhm.
where everybody was. The phones were locked 3 minutes after the murder. I was like, holy shit, I didn't even know this technology existed where they could track the acceleration of the vehicle he was in.
Yeah.
Um,
I thought all that was very damning for him.
yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to say to that.
And when you're showing it on the screen with those, red highlighted dots and Buster looking at it like,
What else could have happened here? Like, what else could
okay,
it be? Nothing.
like it all adds up. But the brain is so protective, like you're saying, he doesn't want to believe it. So then Buster testifies as a character witness. And the defense, slightly implies that Maggie and Alec were separated, but they don't come out and say it. But again, I don't know if this is actual transcript word for word, or, it's hard to tell in the miniseries, like what's happening. And then we see Alec fighting with the attorneys, like you said, that he wants to be on the stand. I mean, what a dumb move.
Really dumb. Because maybe there would have been some questions, but he gets up there and it's clear, like, okay, this guy is such a liar and he doesn't even, yeah.
They're telling him in every way, you're just going to implicate yourself. There's no.
And he's like, your credibility's in like the toilet, or it makes no
Exactly.
sense for you to get up there.
So if in this case, a client says, I want to be on the stand and testify, who has the final
I think
say?
the client for sure always. That's what my understanding is. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
they can advise you, but you do what you want. I mean, I think a lot of people say, well, they blame their attorneys when they don't. It's easier to say my attorney advised me, whatever, but you can always do what you want, I think. You're not the boss of me.
So then we go to day 20 and they bring the actual, or not the actual guns, but replicas of the guns that were used. I mean, if I was a jury member and I saw those, I would be like, oh my God, that makes it so real.
I can't believe they couldn't find his guns. Like, where are the guns? That to me made me think, like, these cops, that's iffy that they couldn't track down whatever guns he had there.
Exactly. I was doing a deep dive on Reddit this morning, like, where are these guns? And so some people were saying like he hid them in the trees at his dad's estate because the dogs wouldn't be able to sniff them out. and no one was going to go and look on that estate for some reason. And then they said that he had someone put him in a fishing hole, I think, on the
Yeah.
property also. I don't know what made that property protected property where they couldn't, like, it wasn't part of the crime
Oh,
scene.
yeah. I mean, I guess I don't know how that works if you get a warrant for the crime scene. If it's 70, the whole property is like 1,700 acres or whatever. Can you search the entire place? Or I guess you could. I don't know enough about any of that.
Because they're always looking for the weapon. So for them just to be like, can't find it. So Alec blames all the lying on drug abuse. He cries. Again, is this real or not? I mean, this seems performative for
The
sure.
nicknames.
Um, he does that with everybody. He calls everybody Beau, like friend, like I had to look that up. Like, why is he calling everyone Beau? I didn't know it was
Hmm.
slang.
But like with he's like his son, Papa or whatever, just over and over. Okay, it's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Mags. Then he starts saying like, the drugs gave him paranoid thoughts, but usually he could talk himself through the paranoid thoughts. I was like, dude, okay, just stop with this
You're
ridiculousness.
not winning yourself any like that. Just he did not come across well at all. I mean, sympathetic at all.
And then the prosecutor was like, okay, this was great where he was like, hey, did you lie about this? And Alex like, yeah, I did. Okay, did you lie about this? Yeah, I did. This. He went through 15 things. And then he goes, are you a family annihilator? And he says, no. And he goes, well, how do we know you're not lying? You
Yeah,
just lied.
you're
You lie about
a definite
everything.
huge liar. Yeah.
And I'm sure. So was this trial videoed or
No, there's a video. Yeah, it was on.
okay? So then we know Jason Clark was
Yeah,
imitating
he's
his
did all.
face.
I mean, he's exactly like seems exactly like him.
So in that moment when he was like, "You lie about everything," you could see Alec being like, "I just totally fucked
I think
myself
yeah,
over."
realizes like it's a dumb move or I overplay my hand or whatever.
Exactly. And then the jury reaches a verdict in 2.5
Yeah,
hours.
yeah, that's fast.
He must have also known at that point, I'm fucked. So we see Buster ask Alec in jail, and I thought this was a great thing. He said, "Why didn't you ask me to come home that day when you were trying to manipulate or beckon mom and Paul home? Like,
Hmm.
why not me?" And I was thinking about that. Like, why didn't he? And I mean, I guess Buster would obviously believe what excuse he gave. But then when I was doing the Reddit deep dive, they were like, because he needed him as an alibi because he called him. And I was like,
Hmm.
that is so sick.
It was like I mean, I think it seems like Buster was his golden his golden boy to keep him around to back you up, and Paul and Maggie are disposable and also kind of liability. Paul is definitely a liability because he's dealing with this whole boat accident. I think he just sees people not as people.
But
Just there has no problem using everybody.
it's disposable. I mean, I think he would have, if he had another person to corroborate, he would have killed Buster too. And I think, in that moment, we see Buster looking at him like, I don't really believe. I do believe you. I want to
Mhm.
believe you, but I don't. That would be hard to reconcile.
Yeah, I
He must go over that trial in his head
wonder
all the
what their
time.
relationship is now. I don't know if like I haven't looked into it, but
I don't know. I saw that he got married just this past spring.
that was sad when he was talking to his fiance. And they're like, "You should just get away, and we should break up. Leave me. You should leave me. You should delete. You don't deserve this. You shouldn't have to deal with this." But it's a nightmare. Yeah.
I mean, I would have gotten the hell out of there for sure. I would have been just terrified by the family of what will happen to me eventually. I don't want to be around here. So the most chilling part of the episode is when they reenact or we see Alec, what we think is Alec's version of the night of what actually really did happen. And so, he puts on this full
Mhm.
body raincoat. That shooting scene again was just, even though like it's not real, it's so hard for me to watch. Like I just get so sick by it. And then we see him, and I thought like he was going to go over and like say, put a hand on Maggie and say something, but he was just trying to get her phone
Yeah.
out of her dress. And then he does the same thing to Paul and then turns the phones off. I was like, oh my God, this guy, was it an out of body experience where he was just like on automated pilot? Like, I can't think of this as real humans, like, like a
Mhm.
shooter video game. I don't know.
Maybe so. I think he's probably able to
Mhm.
do that a lot. I mean, to be able to steal money from people that have nothing, you have to be able to kind of turn it off. If he has any kind of empathy any at all, I don't know. Maybe he just doesn't have any.
Clearly, he doesn't. So we see him then in prison, kind of like jacking around, like not like just, making bets with friends, gambling, bartering things. Like that was hard for me to stomach too. Like, finding his way in prison. Like, where does he fit in this system?
Bet he would do well there because he's a really good manipulator, and there's a lot of stupid people in prison. But he seems like he likes just doing stupid guy stuff. Like he's like a I don't know, grown man, but
He's like a guy's guy, he likes to be the life of the party, the funny one. So at the end, they kind of put these screenshots that he's serving 2 consecutive life sentences and then plus 40 years for $12 million dollars in financial fraud. Murder weapons were never found. And then okay, so why is he only a narcissist would appeal the murder case, knowing he still had to serve 40 years anyway. Like he's not getting out of prison anyway, no matter what. He just is saying, I can't ever have this attached to my name, this particular murder
I
crime.
don't think he doesn't seem like somebody that would ever accept responsibility or he just doesn't seem capable of taking responsibility and being sorry. I wonder if he ever has about anything, and certainly not. I mean, I don't think he'd ever admit to killing them. And then he has an excuse for the financial stuff because he's claiming it's just because of the drugs and he was suffering with addiction.
Well, he's definitely doing drugs in prison, that's for sure.
You think he is?
Yes.
I guess.
Look at Diddy doing drugs in prison. He's already gotten a time extended. They can't just quit the drugs.
Yeah.
For sure he is. But back to your thought of like, does Buster keep in contact with him? Part of me thinking, yeah, he probably goes and visits him on a regular basis because he feels like it's his duty. I can't see him totally cutting the guy off. I wish he would, but I don't know.
Yeah. I think maybe eventually he will. I mean, maybe when he has his own kids, maybe he would think this is completely. I would think that would make you see like this is completely insane.
Right. That perspective, once you have your own children and then you
Yeah.
see things differently, thinking about how you would defend or treat your son or talk to them.
Nobody, it's totally abnormal and wrong. I mean, I would think if he has children, I would think it'd be very clear. He's got a completely messed up dad, but I don't know. It seemed, especially if he's kind of has made this weird trauma bond with him where it's just me and you against the world and all that. Yeah.
Just me and you. Yeah. And I have to believe that someone else did it for my own mental health.
Your whole family's a lie and everything. You have no sense of just stability or you know, anything, I think. And I guess can see how Maggie kind of held on to that because you built your whole life around someone you don't want to think this has just been a complete lie, all of it.
Right.
I think, like, with the judge saying, like, at the end, like, "Nobody I don't know you," like, you're an unknowable person. That idea of just no one can really know you is sad and gross, but also scary, but pathetic too. So how pathetic.
Didn't he say something at the end too, like, you'll always remember that last look of, Maggie and Paul when you looked them in the eye or something like that, like before you shot them, like that will stay with
Mm.
you forever. And then, we see Buster give away that man in the glass poem at the estate sale. And the last scene is Alec looking at himself in the mirror. What do you think about all that? The man in the glass. I mean, that was a pervasive theme.
Yeah, that's just a weird I hadn't read it before until this and reading it. It's hard to know. This family's so messed up and just sick. So I think maybe their interpretation of it is maybe different from normal people's. Because reading it, I think they're seeing it as like we've just gotta you never back down and just show up. Your appearance is what counts, and you make people believe what you want them to believe. So it's just the reflection, not who you are internally or some, just your appearance. In reading it myself, I'm like, okay, well, you just got to make sure you are okay with who you are. Make sure you can look at yourself in the mirror and be okay with who you are. But I don't think they saw it as. I mean, because obviously, if he was looking at himself, he could not have been okay with what he's saying. If
Right.
it wasn't anything deeper than just his appearance. And
Yeah, when he was looking at himself in the last scene, I was thinking, like, what does he see when he looks? What does he see?
do you think he even thinks like that much? I mean, he just doesn't seem like he's giving it a whole lot.
I don't know. Does he see himself as a victim? Does he see himself as a victim? Does
I
he
think,
see
yeah, he
himself
just sees
as
himself as like, man, this is just so hard on me, and everybody's hating me, and I don't think he's
Yeah.
looking at himself, or thinking about anything he's done, or he doesn't seem capable of that. But I mean, maybe.
Well, thank you for recapping this with me. I mean, this was definitely a hard miniseries to watch, even though I've seen countless documentaries on it and read about it. The acting was phenomenal. It did a great job depicting a narcissist sociopath and what it's like for family members to live in their shadow or live with them on a daily basis, you know, how it impacts the whole family. It was a great depiction of the homicide timeline, um, you know, family annihilation, you know, how it happens. So thank you. But also, before we go, I wanted to ask you, so I know you watched The
I did.
Vow, right? About the NXIVM cult. So I don't know if you saw, but Allison Mack is out of prison and she has a podcast that
Wow.
she's come out with about, you know, how she sees her time in NXIVM now and Keith Raniere. And then Nancy Salzman is out and she was interviewed on another podcast. I'll send it to you, 2-part interview. So post prison, post deconstructing from Keith Raniere and his belief system. And so I'm fascinated to listen to both of those.
That whole thing. Yeah. Very crazy.
Crazy, right? So I will be back next week with Joanne to discuss Salt Lake City and the season premiere of Southern Charm, which is tonight. But Rachel, hope to have you back sometime soon. Whatever you're watching, let me know. All right. See ya. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Charmingly Toxic with me, your host, Denise Capurso. Be sure to like, subscribe, and pass on to your fellow reality TV junkies. You can connect with me on Instagram at Denise_support coach and on Facebook at Denise Capurso Counseling and Coaching. This podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. While I am a licensed therapist, I'm not diagnosing anyone for therapeutic purposes, and these are not my clients. Expect sarcasm, snark, and a few clinical insights woven in. I talk about toxic relationships, power dynamics, and emotional safety. But this is not therapy, treatment, or a substitute for professional care. If you're looking for support, please consult a qualified mental health provider. If you're here for validation, insight, and a little side eye, welcome.